So great to be here and to see such a good-sized audience from this, which is not far short of the number that were in the Coal Exchange 2 weeks ago today at the launch of the Low Carbon Delivery Plan for Wales. I don't know if any of you were here then, but there was an amazing picture taken in that exchange when the first £1 million cheque was in the world was signed, of all the people in that room, and they retook that picture with all the leaders who are shaping renewable energy, which is a really good thing to see. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about, I'm going to give you a few nice quotes about this. This is not a new idea, is it, renewables? Shakespeare, taking tide on the flood, says that all of my life has been shaped by the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, but in a completely different way. So my life has been shaped by the sea. So where I live in St. David has been shaped by the Ramsey Island, where, as you know, we have amazing currents. But this magic that we have this magic opportunity is all around us in this course, in your marine space. If there's magic on this planet, it's contained in water. It's one of my favorite T-shirts. Isaac Dynison, the cure for anything is salt water. Sweat, tears, or the sea. And one of the things that we've got to do as part of our job is to release, ironically, to release the technology that you're capable of developing and the finance that you're capable of putting in place. We've got to get emotion behind it. We've got to get stories behind it. We've got to get hearts behind it in a way that isn't usual necessarily for engineers and technologists and finance folk. Because actually, it's stories that sell this stuff, not the technology. You have the ability to deliver a game-changing solution around climate, but it's hearts that lead the change on this more than minds, because the hearts need changing first. And this is my kind of world here. So I want to kind of reflect for a minute on Greta Thunberg's amazing work as a climate activist. As you're all seeing the talks that she's done. I paraphrase part of what she talked about, saying the problem is, and this is to the UN, saying the problem is you're not mature enough to tell it as it is. And once you've done your homework, you need to reimagine everything. And that's fine as statements, but what we need to do is to get to a point where we can be mature enough to tell it as it is. So the divestment agenda is kind of important. So how many people in this room today have a green pension? So, on that basis, you do not deserve any money from anyone. Because if you can't be asked to put your money where your mouth is, you really shouldn't be. I wouldn't endorse you getting money from anyone. Really. Because you have to walk the fucking talk. It is no good anymore. You have to be mature enough, 15-year-old, you have to be mature enough to tell it as it is. As it is to say, if you do not put the money allocated and aligned with the future, you will not get the future that you want. It's fairly simple maths. So step one, this week, next week, go and talk to your pension providers and say, I want to get a green pension. Because if you don't believe it enough to put it behind businesses like yours, you need to change your job. Seriously. And the second bit is about once you've done your homework, we need to imagine a whole new way of thinking. And that's about everything, not just about little bits. We have to reimagine our entire economy. And to do that, we need to keep our ambition wild. And that's one of the things that I've learned from 30-odd years of doing adventure and innovation in that space. We have to be a bit more radical about our innovation, which is why I'm going to show you a risk management matrix. So in my job as NRW, as a board member, because I had a business background, I got put on the Audit and Risk Assurance Committee. That was like going to your favorite gig but being put in the cloakroom. It was kind of like, oh my God, it's like, this is the worst thing. I was so excited when I got the role, then got put on Audit Committee. But what I actually learned, a really valuable lesson, which is that government knows jack shit about risk. Because government treats risk, they use the same word to describe risk as what they actually mean is process variation. So when government says, we'd love to do what your project's talking about, love your ideas, Oriel, but we're risk averse, they do not understand risk in the same way that we do when we're taking people coasteering or climbing or surfing, which means you guarantee or you maximize the chance of getting a good outcome. When government manage risk, it's maximising the chance of keeping the process unruffled. It's got nothing to do with risk. Because if you look at things like, what's the chance of a government pension scheme that's not invested in green futures creating a worse outcome? Well, what's the chance of that? It's pretty high. What's the impact? It's pretty high. Where do we treat it as a priority? Like it's nothing. Where do we put our ambition? We treat most of the things that are serious as though they're non-existent risks. Whereas ironically, if by some chance people found asbestos in this room today, we wouldn't be allowed back in here, regardless of the risk. So we have a really skewed view of risk. And I want to put to you, this is my one, some of you will have seen this before, this is my whole life in one slide. Okay, so here you go. However you just performance left-hand side, 0 to 10. You can either judge your effort against what the local rules say or what the shared reality is. So, and the way it goes is that the top left-hand side is generally where big corporates sit. They're brilliant at delivering the wrong thing really well. Government does the same. My organisation in the past, Natural Resources Wales, licensed people to kill nature by the book. You can get shooting permits, you get pollution permits, and those levels, whether for NRW or the compliance levels for government, are set at the lowest levels that lobbyists and politicians can get them to. They were never set at levels that are congruent with a resilient environment for Homo sapiens. Really, really important to understand this. So the highest standards for corporate performance, are the lowest level that lowest lobbyists can get them to. If every business in this country was complied with every single piece of environmental legislation by the book, we'd still wipe ourselves out. So Walker's crisps, as one example, make crisp packets that, in effect, are non-recyclable. In one school I went to, did some complex maths with them, complex for them, to work out one school eats 100,000 packets of crisps a year. But they make them really well. They make them according to the highest quality standards. So be really careful when you follow just a corporate lead. Bottom left-hand side is where government tends to sit. Government is not designed as a delivery agency, so they're brilliant at creating legislation, Wellbeing Future Generations Act, but they're not delivery organizations, so they need organizations around them from the third sector and business to deliver. This right-hand side over here where people get the reality bit, but can't get to scale. Can't get to scale because they don't know how, they haven't got the resources, the money, the finance, or the skills. This is where yogurt weavers, a lot of activists, an awful lot of academics, geographers, it's me, sit. Good insight, low impact. And the top right-hand side is where you'd sit if you couldn't fail. So if you couldn't fail, how many people working in the renewable sector would you want to put the hand up and go, at least part of my personal investments are in green technology? Well, you'd want it to be close to 100%, wouldn't you? Really? As opposed to probably less than 1. Because we never talk about where we're trying to get to. And the irony that Oriel talked about is that in Wales there are £80 billion of pensions and ISAs invested in almost no businesses in Wales. Because we've only got 5 or 6 listed companies. So not only are you not investing in your own business, you're not even investing in Wales. So the 80 billion would fund everything we need to build and beyond in that space. But only when we set ambitious enough goals that deal with the real risks can you get the imagination in place that allows you to think about who can get to the table. Because you cannot build this stuff by yourself. I want to give you a couple of quick examples. So what we've noticed in the world of co-steering, in the world of working with teams, working with businesses and thousands of kids, is that what keeps us safe is noticing risk, making appropriate decisions that keep everyone safe, and then act with appropriate speed. Acting with appropriate speed, of course, is what we've struggled with some of the engagement with local government pension funds or businesses and government, but we need to relate speed to the outcome we're trying to get. I've touched on this already about the walking the talk bit. The single best business decision I made in 30 years at TYF was signing up to this movement called B Corp, which is a collection of 2,500 businesses globally who are using the power of business to change capitalism, to get it in line with the things that we've been talking about. It is the equivalent to Park Run. If Park Run is CSR, this is Ironman. It's really, really hard. But it'll make you do the things as a business that will make you stronger, fitter, and ready for change. And in the UK, there's about a couple hundred people. We're lobbying Welsh government to make it the standard for procurement, because the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act requires businesses, or requires public sector to maximise the contribution it makes. So have a look at B Corp. There's a whole bunch of people. There's a bunch of energy companies in the States who signed up. Abundance Investments, who came and spoke previously, are founding B Corps as well. And there's some really, really good people in that space. And in practice, what B Corp does, it allows you to measure and publicly count what you do. Your score is made public, people can see what you're doing, and it is way beyond CSR. Because I believe if we're going to make this happen, we need to be exemplars of what's going on. I talked to a couple of people in the lead up this morning about growing the future bit and the stuff that Dave was talking about public perception around Tidal. This is about storytelling and getting people excited, not only about wanting to work in the sector, but about wanting to seeing it grow and being part of that. So our goal at TYF and working with Charlotte Church and a whole bunch of other people is to have every kid in every school in Wales running their energy systems, food, waste, water and transport for real in school. When kids are 19, you'd like them coming out of school able to contribute to the businesses you're running. It's possible to get to postdoc level without having solved a problem that matters in the world. And I think that if every kid left school having done 500 or so hours of solving real challenges set by businesses in the locality, things that they're genuinely grappling with, it would be impossible to have kids coming out of school not wanting, A, to work for cool businesses and wanting to make change. And two of the ones that we've done this with are Sure Chill, who are a Cardiff-based amazing technology company who developed a water-based chilling system that keeps things cold for 10 days at 40 degrees unplugged. And Growing Underground are the guys up in London who are growing food in their old air raid shelters. And both of them presented their challenges to school kids, and both of them had ideas they'd never thought of before, and both of them had kids coming in on work experience that added real value. So fully engage with the schools. Don't just go and do a talk. Get them engaged. Get the kids sweating. Put them to work. And I think this is a lesson in be careful what you wish for. So I was talking a couple of weeks back with Martin Phillips, who was busy doing the background work at the WRU about preparing our fantastic team for their Grand Slam. And he said, well, great, well, I'll give you the Principality Stadium for free. 68,000 capacity, or 60,000 capacity with a stage in it. We'll pay the background costs to run a series of events around sustainability and the future for education. So in 5 days, you could get 300,000, it's a simple maths. 5 days, you could get 300,000 kids under that roof. That'd be 10% of the population of Wales. The question is, if we were to do that this time next year, or May, June next year, what's the question that you'd want to ask them about your businesses and getting engaged, and what's the story you'd want them to take away about their commitment to get involved in doing things differently? So, a couple of suggestions. I think because you're working literally on the periphery of Wales, and you're working in the periphery of the energy space, I think my sense is that the rest of the world need to see you as a team in a way that they maybe don't at the minute. As a stronger single voice, not just being championed by Marine Energy Wales as an organisation, but being championed by the members who are telling that story every single time to say we are a team shifting the dial across at a Wales level. And one of the stories that's most inspired me of late came across from the Basque region. And there's a couple of organisations over there called K2K, who are a consultancy, and a bunch of businesses that they've worked with since, who've got a radical way of working. So if anyone doesn't know, the Basque country's GDP is 1 point bigger than double Wales's. Okay, it's 149% of the European average. in a not dissimilar post-industrial economy. And people have tried to work out what they're doing. But what they've nailed in the Basque area is a deeply engaged, socially embedded, and environmentally conscious business. And K2K is working with a bunch of organizations with total transparency, shared harvest, shared benefit, stuff that Mark Drakeford's talking about. They're eliminating managers and organizations, self-managed teams, producing rates of return 20% higher than anything else in the Basque Country. And what's interesting is that they've created a cluster of businesses who've been through this kind of reimagining the rules process, who work almost like a flock of starlings. So a bunch of smaller businesses have things like shared FDs, shared back offices around HR, payroll, all the people stuff, so that you can end up with people who specialize in businesses that connect the same interests, but can work together in completely different ways. And they're outperforming the market in a way that's staggering, like 30% less sickness and absenteeism than the average, because they're working as a collective, but individual businesses within that. And I think on the collaboration stage, I guess this is back to Oriel's point, the collaboration space here needs to be the people who are the not usual suspects. And whether that's the schools, the primary schools, the secondary schools, the colleges, not just postdocs and master's students, but the local pension engagers. Who are the people who can get behind the projects and unlock the bits that are stuck in completely different ways? And I think this is recognizing that too often when we get gatherings like this, it's gatherings of the same people, the same interests in the same rooms. We need, how many people here are here from the investment business, from the investment sector? I don't know, but I guess maybe not that many. Why are there not investors in the room? Why haven't we got educators in the room? Why have we not got pension advisors in the room working out how to do this? So I think the best lesson from this, I think, is to really pay attention to understanding how nature has created the rules for 3.8 billion years of evolution, and it does it by maximizing diversity. And it maximizes diversity in every ecosystem to maximize the possibility of thriving and resilience. And to do that, we need to copy those rules and not end up with monocultures of kind of white men in rooms, the same kind of same generation, same kind of ages. Make sure, really unpack that diversity of age, of background, of interest, because only by doing that, I think, will you get the excitement that'll release the kind of capability and potential that David and the others have been talking about earlier. So my key messages, just to wrap, are really, really amp up your ambition and make sure that everyone in all of your organizations understands that same story so that they're telling that every single time they're out there. The walk the talk bit. Yeah, and where you put your money is one thing. If you're in the sustainability space, the car that you drive, the clothes that you wear, who you buy your energy from. I mean, God forsake, I hope no one here is not buying a green tariff energy. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. But how you spend every single penny every day is how we make our sector stronger. Yeah, wear that talk as well as walk it. Do that, engage next generations, get them excited, because they are the people, it is the children of our politicians, it is the children of our business leaders who can hassle them more than any of you can to change their minds. I mean, I have no doubt that this sector, marine, is part of the future. I want to see Ramsey Island producing energy as well as producing fun, which it's done for us for many years. And I really look forward to seeing what's happening over these next few hours as we sit here together. And my lesson to take your learning to the edge. This is my office at White Sands in St David's. If you want to discuss any of this, pick up the phone, bring your walking boots, and we'll take it from there. Diolch yn fawr.